Okay, in this video we are going to show you, or I am going to show you how to subtract integers using counters and using number lines. But first, let's look at how we can do it using counters. So by now you should already know that counters is just a little either the square or the circle uh, that represents a negative or a positive number. For example, if I let me bring up my stamper and this one right here. This is a positive counter. Okay, but if I select this one, this is a negative counter. So we're going to be talking about these little counters right here. Notice the plus and the minus sign. Those are uh, the symbols that tell you if it's a positive or a negative counter. Okay, let's see. Remember, one meaning of subtraction is to take away. So for this purpose, for whenever we talk about modeling subtraction with counters, you have to remember that one thing right here. Subtraction is read as takeaway. If you remember back in elementary school, you should take away stuff. You have 5 pencils and you're going to take away 3 pencils. How many pencils do you have left? Okay, this is pretty much the same thing we're going to do here, but instead of pencils, we're going to use counters. So the first problem that we have here to model is going to be, it says find the difference of 5 and 2, or in other words, 5 minus 2. Remember that this word difference means subtraction. So this is a positive 5, right? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put 5 positive counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the next thing it says minus, or in other words, take away. So now I'm going to take away 2. Okay, so if I'm going to do this in different steps, this would be step 1. Just model my first integer. Okay, then step 2 would be to show that I'm taking 2 away. Okay, so between those two uh, symbols, the minus and the 2, take away 2. Okay, so I'm going to redraw my 5 counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counters, and I'm going to take away 2 because that says take away 2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab that red color and I'm going to grab these two right here and I'm going to put an arrow to the outside showing that these 2 counters are being taken away. Okay, so that's step 2. And finally step 3. Step 3, all it is just showing what's left. And if you notice, we have taken 2 away. So because we've taken 2 away, all we have left is 3 positives. So step 3 is my answer. Okay, so it says find the difference of -5 and -2, or -5 take away a -2. Okay, remember that takeaway is always going to be your subtraction symbol. You have to remember that difference subtraction. So we're going to subtract. So if they give it to you in words and they give it to you like this, that means subtraction. All right. So I'm going to do my counters. And I have 5 negatives first to draw. So I need to choose the negative counter icon and I'm going to do step 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are my 5 counters right here that are negative. Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to show that I'm going to take away 2 of those negatives. So again, I'm going to recopy my first 5 counters. There they are. In this case, I am going to take away, this is take away 2 negative counters. So there's 2 negative counters right here that I can just take away. Okay, and my final step is to draw my uh, answer, whatever I have left. And since I took these 2 away, I have 3 left. Final answer is, okay, so this again, this is step 1, this would be step 2, and this is step 3, what your answer is. This is a positive 7. So the first thing I have to do is have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Step 1. Step 2, copy it again. 1, 2, 6, and 7. And then on this second step, I need to show that I'm going to take away, remember this subtraction symbol, we are going to read it as take away. Going to take away 6 positive counters. Uh-oh. Well, yeah, we have 7. We can take 6 away. Grab this 6 counters right here. Step number 3, draw what you have left. And what do you have left? You only have left 1 positive counter. Final answer is just this positive one right here. That's it. That's all it is. Okay, so my answer to this problem, I can now answer it. 7 minus 6. Anybody could have told me this in class and I don't have to model it. But the purpose of this class notes, this video notes, is to show you how to model 7 minus 6. I know you all know that 7 minus 6 is 1, but did you know how to model it before I taught you here? That's the important part, because on your STAR test during 7th grade, you're going to see counters, you're going to see step 1, you're going to see step 2, and then you're going to see step 3, and they're going to ask you what is being modeled. So you have to come up with this number sentence right here. You understand that? That's where we're going. Okay, so you can do this one by yourself. I'm going to scroll down and do the next one. Actually, you can do those two by yourself. Those are pretty easy. But now let's talk about the properties of when you model integers. One of the properties is that when a positive counter is paired up with one of the negative counters, for example, these two right here, you end up with a 0 pair. So this right here, when you have a positive and a negative, that's called a 0 pair because the value of it is 0. What happens here is that they cancel each other out. Okay, so a positive cancels out a negative, so you end up with nothing. That's why it's called a 0 pair. And it's a pair because there's 2 counters. Okay, they just happen to be opposite of each other, so they cancel out and their value is 0. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What's 5 plus 0 equal to? Hopefully everybody said 5. 5 plus nothing is 5, right? What's 6 plus 0? 6. What's 7 plus 0? 7. So can I add 7 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 and I still get 7? And the answer to that would be yeah, it is. Because I can add as many zeros as I want to without changing the value of the original number, which was 7 in this case. Well, that's what this next bullet right here is saying. You can add or remove any 0 pairs because they're worth 0 from the mat, because adding or removing zeros does not change the value of the contents of the mat. And when we're talking about the mat, we're talking about all the counters being drawn. For example, if I go back here, this right here, that's the mat. Okay, the actual model, the actual drawing. This right here, all those 3 pictures, that's the mat. So that's what they're talking about when they say the mat. Okay, so now let's do an example when you have to add or take away some of those 0 pairs. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this says take away 2 negatives. Well, do I have 2 negatives that I can take away from my second step? And hopefully the answer for that question is no. I don't have 2 negatives I can take away. So what I need to do is I need to add some 0 pairs. I can add a 0 pair here with a positive and the negative. This cancel each other out, so the value is 0. I still have only 5 because these two cancel each other out. But I want to add them so I can take away 2 negatives in just a few minutes. Okay, I want to add 1 0 pair, and actually I want to add 2 0 pairs. They're still worth 0, so I can add as many 0 pairs as I want to. But now that I've added these two 0 pairs, can I go ahead and take away two negatives? In this case, the answer is yes, because now I have those two negatives, these two right here. I can grab them, circle them, draw an arrow to the side saying I'm taking them away, and my answer is going to be with whatever I have left. So because I have 7 positive counters left, I started with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I had these two more left when I took the other two negatives away. So I end up with 7 positives. So my answer to this problem, the difference between 5 and -2 is 7. 7 positive, positive 7. Okay, now let's talk about how you do it with the number line. And the number line is actually a lot easier than the counters because you don't have to draw the counters 3 times. All you gotta do is draw an arrow for each one of these numbers. Kind of like we did whenever we modeled addition with number lines. Okay, if you need to go back and review that video, make sure you do that at this time because we are going to be talking about how to do this. So we want to subtract integers using number lines. Okay, so first thing I have to do is I have to change the subtraction sign to an addition sign and then change the second number that's being added to its opposite. So here's my problem, 5 minus positive 7. I'm going to change this problem. That minus sign, I'm going to change it to a plus sign because that's what this says right here. Change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. And then I'm going to change the second number to its opposite. So this 7 now is going to become a -7 because the opposite of a positive 7 is a -7. And now I can go ahead and follow the modeling addition steps that we reviewed on the other video about modeling addition. And these are the rules in that video. Begin the first line at 0. So I'm going to start here at 0. I'm going to begin my first line at 0. And I'm going to go to the positive 5. So that means I'm going to go to the right. And there's a little note right here to the side for you to remember. So make sure you remember if it's a negative integer, you move to the left. If it's a positive integer, you move to the right. In this case, we had a positive 5, so we end up here at 5. And then from 5, I have to add 7, and that's a -7. So from the 5, from that new location, I go back 7 units, because that's a -7. That's what the second arrow represents. And the answer is indicated by the end of the